Hey, easy. Easy, take it easy. If you quit struggling, I'll let you go. Sit. We need to talk. All right. One question at a time. I'm Darius, but that's not really important. What, this place? It's an old abandoned cabin about 6 miles east of town. Those like us use it as a stockpile, a safe house. Store some spare clothes, food, water, bit of cash, just in case. Yes, those like us, dummy. Werewolves. Tearing up Main Street at midnight. Busting into the butcher's and ransacking his walk-in fridge. You know, scaring that group of teens half to death. Ring any bells. You starting to remember now? Yeah, it was you. Oh. Don't tell me. Last night was your first full moon. Great. My first patrol of the season, I pick up a virgin I gotta deal with. No, let me guess. Sometime last month you were minding your own business, just after midnight, when a huge creature jumped out of the shadows and then everything went black. You woke up hours later, somewhere strange, with a scar you don't remember getting, and not a clue how you got there. Sound familiar? Oh no, that was no dream. You got turned. It doesn't take much. A bite, a scratch, just gotta break the skin. I don't know what to tell you. You know the stories, right? Werewolves, lycanthropes. They're not stories. You don't have to believe me. Just look at yourself. Your pajamas are in rags. You're not wearing shoes. You even got a little broken glass still in your hair. A cure? It's not gonorrhea. This has been going on for as long as recorded history. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but once you turn, there's only one way out. The permanent one. Don't stress out about it. For most like us, it doesn't affect our day-to-day lives all that much. I know right now it feels like your world has come crashing down, but trust me, once you get used to it, it's not so bad. Some even like it. Here. It's just a wet cloth. Wipe yourself down. You got leaves and dirt everywhere. Last night when I found you, you were chasing a group of high schoolers down Brook Street. Probably the same kids who keep vandalizing the cemetery. You may have actually scared some sense into them. Not that you were trying to teach them a lesson. I don't know what you wanted with them. Maybe you wanted to eat them. Maybe you want to play fetch. Who knows what your dog brain wanted? You sure didn't. Anyway, I couldn't let you turn a bunch of teenagers into werewolves. Or worse, tear them apart in the middle of a residential street, so I dragged you, kicking and screaming by the way, out to the woods where you couldn't cause any more harm. We call it dog brain. It's the state of mind people have when they first turn. It's never pretty the first time. Especially when you don't know what to expect. Fear mixed with newfound strength far beyond human means usually makes quite a mess. Were you home last night? Do you live with anyone? No pets, right? Good. I've seen people turn for the first time in crowded bars or night buses on the highway. I'll spare you the details, but let's just say you don't clean up that kind of mess with a broom. You need a mop and a hose. It's called dog brain for a reason. The behavior is noticeably canine. Often hostile, occasionally playful, never rational. More often than not, it involves food of some kind. After you turned, you probably ate all the food in your place and then went out looking for more. Thankfully, it looks like you live close to the butcher and didn't detour to go hunting. Most people first assume your instinct is to kill everyone and everything you see, but it's always a reaction to fear. The first transition between human and werewolf is extremely painful and understandably terrifying. With the rational mind suppressed and replaced with instincts, it just makes sense that you would try to get out of wherever you are as fast as possible. And as we all know, dogs don't know how to use doors, so you should expect a mess when you get home. A big one. Anyway, after the transition is complete and the individual is out in the open, it's fair game what they do next. Wolves have a wide variety of personalities, and so do werewolves. Most go find more food, some find a wooded area and keep out of sight, others chase cars down the highway. Yeah, it's dangerous, but only to the people in the vehicles. I guess you haven't noticed anything strange about yourself in the last month. Sounds that normally you ignored have gotten louder. Strange smells you just can't place. I know when I first turned, I found myself walking to the toilet at night with no lights on, and yet being able to see everything as clear as day. And that's not even mentioning the improved healing. I've seen werewolves fall off 20-story buildings, get hit by tractor trailers on the highway, shot 10, 20 times and not even flinch. The legends are all true. While transformed, you're nearly immortal. But that's not all. Even in human form, some of that carries over. Let's see. Sense of smell is enhanced, hearing is improved quite a bit, night vision is significantly better. While not as good as while transformed, your healing is way better than it was. Oh yeah. Paper cuts heal in hours, broken limbs heal in days. Even your digits and limbs grow back. Yeah. A few years ago, I was working at a sawmill near Lannister. One little snip and boom. No more pinky finger. I wasn't too happy about it, but it stopped bleeding and scabbed over pretty quick. Nobody saw it happen. Next day, didn't hurt at all. And the day after that, it was a little longer than before. Took about a month to fully heal. Not that I recommend you try it. Let's see. What else should you know? You're faster and stronger than you were. Gotta be careful with those. Don't want to arouse suspicions. I was running to catch a bus this one time and not paying attention. I hit 45 miles an hour before I realized people were watching. Had to play it off like my coat was snagged in the side of the bus and I was being dragged. Gotta watch your strength, too. By the look of you, you aren't going to be picking up any cars anytime soon, but I would expect you to give a powerlifter a run for their money. It's directly proportional to your emotional state, too. Fear, anger, all of these things can trigger a spike in your strength. It's vital you learn to control your emotions, especially rage. A shove in anger can break ribs and collapse lungs. A slap can break someone's neck. I guess now's as good a time as any to talk about the other stuff. Once per month, on the full moon, you will transform. There's no getting around it. Download a moon phase tracker app onto your phone and check it every single day, no exceptions. If you plan on sticking around here for a while, the locals like us usually get together during the day and head out to the mountains as far away from town as possible. Your first few transformations will be rough, I'm not going to lie to you. But over time, the more and more your mind will follow you through the transition. We try to stick together, but it's never easy. If you're on your own, however, you need to leave civilization as quick as possible. Park your car, find a clearing, and lay flat on your back. The transformation will always happen at the high point of the full moon, usually 12 midnight, and ends at daybreak, shorter in the summer, longer in the winter. Some of us put a GPS or compass on a chain and then put that around our neck or in a loose-fitting fanny pack, so when we wake up deep in the forest, they can find their way back. But that never worked for me. I would always just follow the trail of destruction back to where I started. There's no cheating. It doesn't matter if you're in a bunker underground or atop a mountain. On the full moon, you will change. And while you are still new to this, you will want to be as far away from people as possible. Trust me. Now, there are some options if you don't like the idea of getting lost in the woods. In the old days, people would chain themselves to a tree or lock themselves in a concrete bunker overnight. It's quick, dirty, and guarantees you can't get yourself into trouble. Now, if you plan on trying this, a word of caution. Lots of people have chained themselves to a tree just to wake up with a snap chain or a whole tree dragged behind them. You'll wreck automotive chain like dental floss. You want to get 30-ton anchor train used for naval vessels. And as a rule of thumb, if you can hug a tree and your hands touch on the other side, you will rip it out of the ground. Oh, and don't put the chain around your neck. That's just cruel. Wrap it around your waist, twice the size of what you normally would, and secure it with a shackle. You don't have to use a padlock. Your dog brain won't be thinking about undoing it. And besides, you'll probably lose the key anyway. There are some less restrictive options as well. If you bring a dead cow or deer, your other side should eat until it falls asleep. And by the time you wake up, it'll be daybreak. A little gory, but it works. There's also a well-known but unconventional method used by the old school Aboriginals. Some consume massive quantities of cannabis before the transformation, and then they sleep through the whole thing. It won't stop you from turning, but it can stop you from moving. Modern drugs have been tried, but from what I've heard, nothing works as well. I've personally never tried it, but to each their own. One thing I can recommend, however, is you go take a few days and go speak to old Marv near Briar Peak. He's just about the oldest one of us around. Something I still haven't mentioned is over time you gain more and more control until your normal self is no different from your other form. Full control over your other side. In the past, this was only possible after decades of experience, and even then the animal would still come out from time to time. Old Marv and his wife changed that about 50 years back. If you pay attention to what he has to say and follow his instructions religiously, you can gain control in years, not decades. And that's how I grabbed you last night. Those of us who have control take shifts on the full moon protecting the town and area from newbies like yourself who don't have any control. Look, I know you got a million questions and I'd love to sit here all day answering them, but I've got a full 10-hour shift that starts in like 40 minutes, and I haven't even gotten to the important stuff yet. Most people don't know werewolves exist, obviously, but some do. In human form, unless you slip up or worse, start showing off, there is no way for people to know you're one of them. You want to keep it that way. If you are found out, I promise nothing but suffering follows. As long as there have been werewolves, there have been lovets. It's the old world word for hunters. Humans who have spent their entire lives in the shadows, training to kill people like us. Hundreds of secret orders have sprung up here and there, but they all have the same MO. Hide in plain sight and seek out targets. They are in all levels of government and the police. They've worked their way into just about every town and city in the US. They're weaker, slower, and less resilient than we are, but just as deadly. Like I said, you're nearly immortal. Just like the stories, silver's our weakness. Bullets, knives, arrows, crossbow bolts, you name it. Injuries caused by silver weapons bypass our healing factor entirely. If you get shot or stabbed, you can still recover, but it will take just as long as if you were still human, and with the same lasting effects. It's not as pronounced as in the movies. You can still touch or wear silver, just be careful. Our town is known as a hot spot. It's got a higher concentration of turned individuals than most places, which makes it a little safer, but that also makes it a target. Oh, crap, I gotta go. It's dangerous to be out here during the day. Look, I'll get in contact later this week. We can get together with some of the others and you can ask questions till your heart's content, but until then, I'll lay down the rules real quick. First and most obvious, say nothing. Go about your life just as you did before all of this, like nothing's changed. Work, shop, hang out with friends, keep doing whatever it is you used to do. If you change your entire life on a dime, it makes people suspicious, and suspicious leads to rumors, and rumors attracts lovets. Second, play the part. As far as anyone knows, you're still the same as you were last week. For example, if you used to have a hard time carrying a box of paper, you need to pretend to still struggle. If you get cut or burned, get it treated and keep the bandages on for as long as it would normally take. Some of us even draw on scars every morning to sell it further. Third, Stay out of the spotlight. If you see a burning building, you may want to rush in and be the hero. Now, I'm not saying you do nothing, but anything superhuman puts a huge target on your back. Until you have a better grasp on what you are, keep your head down. And fourth, unless you are outside of civilization with people you know are like you make no reference, no gesture, not even a wayward glance. If you run into me in a grocery store, I will pretend you don't exist, and I expect nothing short of you doing the same for me. As time passes, you may make friends with others outside our group, but even if you two are alone in your living room, you don't talk about it, not even in passing. Not only is it risky for yourself and your friend, it's a quick way to get yourself exiled from the community. In time, we can show you how to communicate, but for the time being, push all this to the far back of your mind and go about your life as it was. Are you a local? Just moved to town, eh? Some welcome, right? Come on. I'll give you a ride close to town and drop you off somewhere inconspicuous. Oh, and welcome to Black Forest.